Hello and welcome to the Peel Halton Local Employment Planning Council's SME Toolbox webinar series, Episode 3. This episode is Cutting IT Costs Using Cloud Technology. My name is Gail Jacqueline Rogerson, and I'm a communications specialist for the Peel Halton Employment Council, and I will be your moderator for today's webinar. Before we get started, just a few things to note. We really want to hear from you, and we want to ensure that all of your questions are answered. So be sure to use the question and answer panel on the right side of your GoToWebinar screen and post your questions there. I'll be taking note of all the questions as we go along. One final note, please ensure that your screen is expanded to maximum mode. And now we're ready to begin. I'd like to introduce our feature presenter, NETWORTH President, Brian Angelis. Brian is a sales and engineering strategist who for many years has helped small and medium organizations, much like yourselves. Not only is Brian focused on helping his many clients find good IT products, but the right IT products that fit their company. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Brian.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for allowing me to be part of the Cutting IT Costs Using Cloud Technology. Thank you very much, Gail. How cloud computing can cut your IT costs by half, provide automatic disaster recovery, and free you to work from anywhere on any device. This is the topic of the day. And I wanted to know, Gail, if you have the slide presentation up on your side, or...
Sorry, Brian. Yeah, I can bring it up. Hang on just one second.
Sorry, if everyone can see it, can everyone see it now, or?
Okay, I'm pretty sure everybody can see it here.
Just to make sure, Gail, it's flipping through, as if you don't mind flipping through after each one, would be great, just in case I'm not processing it properly.
Absolutely, here we are.
Great. Okay then, I'll continue. Thank you very much. So on October 30th, 2005, one of the world's wealthiest tech billionaires wrote an urgent memo to his top engineers and most trusted management team. It would forever change the landscape of the IT industry, and it would remove anyone's doubt about getting information and use of technology. This was happening. Meanwhile, on the banks of the Columbia River, a mysterious company known as Design LLC was secretly constructing two massive 34,000 square foot windowless warehouses on top of a fiber optic network codenamed Project 2. Basically, in fact, the International Herald Tribune wrote that this was looming like an information age nuclear plant. What was it? It was basically Google and Amazon and Microsoft. They were basically creating what is now called cloud computing. It was the advent of what was going to be happening in the industry and for things to come. What we're going to be covering today is basically what is cloud computing and why you'll want to consider switching to this model as a business organization, the facts about security and where your data is actually stored, whether it be in the US or in Canada, how it works and how it would benefit you and your organization along with your employees. What does it cost and where are the savings in the actual IT? Whether you're a new startup company or a company that's been around for many, many years, it is always worthwhile to investigate the move to the cloud. What happens if your internet goes down? Obviously, the cloud is based on the internet. So if you are trying to do a cloud solution, your internet must be solid. The top reasons why companies are switching to the cloud: we have 3-person operations and 150 to 500 user operations, and some cities are actually in the thousands of employees that are completely on the cloud. And how to determine if cloud computing is right for you. But before we get into this juicy content, please allow me to briefly introduce myself. For those of you here who might not be familiar with me or my company, I am a veteran IT sales and engineering strategist that specializes in helping small and medium-sized companies get a better return on their IT investments. More specifically, I know how to help companies and owners and operators like yourself free up time to spend, free up the time you spend worrying about your IT so you can concentrate on growing your business, all for a predictable, friendly budget. Well, really, who am I? Well, most of my customers over the last 27 years have described myself as a Superman of the IT service industry who flat out knows how to deliver, the best solutions. And the reason why is because we look at IT from a grassroots level and try to develop a platform for customers to grow from one-man operations up to, multiple hundreds. I spent most of my 2 decades building a reputable IT service-based company for businesses in Ontario, Quebec, and now in the USA. We have over 500 active clients that span the North American market. And I spent about 27 years talking to customers just like yourself, building relationships in person. The personal side is very, very important to us. Even though as automation and IT has become more prevalent, we don't want that to overtake the fact of talking to people and just thinking that you can just buy everything and put it in place. And we've documented success stories on our website, and we currently have a great team of network engineers and help desk technicians that help us put these solutions in place. So what is cloud computing, and why should you care? The web and the cloud computing is to storing and processing data, what the electrical grid and electrical company is to plug it into your coffee maker. It's a more convenient way of doing business, a more reliable way and less expensive a way of computing than doing the traditional way of setting up everything in your office. If you look back at once upon a time, a company, large factories were required to produce their own power to operate a number of tools and machines they used to produce their wares. And in 1851, in a field beside an ironworks in upstate New York, Henry Burton built the largest and most powerful industrial water wheel in the world. At top speed, this 600-foot, 250-ton behemoth could produce 500 horsepower. That generated enough electricity to power the tools in his factory through an intricate system of gears, belts, and pulleys. This invention made Burton a very powerful and wealthy man, but of course, that was 50 years ago, and things change. The invention, of course, was electricity as a utility, was a game changer. Companies no longer had to produce their own power. It very quickly became a competitive necessity to tap into the cheaper electrical grid than to try and produce your own power for anybody. So by the early years of the 20th century, this once world-class cutting-edge technology was abandoned, rusting in the field of overgrown grass. And if you Google it and go take a look, you'll see pictures of it rusting there in the field. The same technology revolution is happening now and has happening for the last couple years. I'd say about 10 now that we've been doing cloud. The application users spend the majority of their time in the web browser. I'm sure all of you do this. You're doing it right now. You use Google Mail, you use Microsoft Mail, maybe you're using Apple products. The internet connectivity is exploding and is largely being driven by mobile Wi-Fi. Devices are multiplying and getting cheaper, albeit the Androids and the Apple phones are still $1,000, so that's not too cheap. But practically all new software applications are now delivered exclusively or largely on a SaaS model. SaaS stands for Software as a Service, where you don't have to buy all the technology, you just have to buy the service. In fact, you're already using most of this technology, as I just said a few minutes ago, the Google search engines, the Facebook, the LinkedIn, the Twitter, the Constant Contact, all these different products, Gmail, Hotmail. For years, you've been in the cloud and you probably didn't realize it. Online banking. I mean, honestly, how many people actually go to the teller? And if you do, you're probably going to have to make a switch soon because most of the banks are cutting back on actual tellers in their banks. So these are just some of the services that are out there. And basically, this is how it works. A quickie non-tech overview. It's a collective virtual computer that uses economics of scale to provide your IT resources, tools, and applications on demand, like a utility via the web. Kind of like it's techie a little bit, but you got to think about basically everything being stored in the cloud and you accessing it through a web interface so that you can basically operate without interruption. That's really what it's come down to. What are the benefits? Obviously, lower hardware costs. We have companies that are, 5 and 10 person operations that don't want to spend $20,000 on IT to get everything set up in an office and then have someone manage it. So the least expensive route is to have a rental solution where they're renting everything in the cloud as a hosted solution. So there's lower IT costs for sure. It frees you to access applications from any device. If any of you are using Microsoft 365, you know that you can go to any web browser in any part of the world and basically look at your mail, or from your Android or Apple phone. It's a great service and a great feature. You have built-in disaster recovery and business continuity. I mean, you're relying on us and the big boys like Microsoft and Google to have all that infrastructure in place so that you don't have to worry about it. So let me show you some real-life case studies that will clarify and drive home these benefits. Jim, one of our early proponents of the cloud, came to us 3 years ago this month and was breaking away from his mortgage-based operation where he was an employee and wanted to start off his own operation. And he found us on Google, typed in the words, cloud computing or computing, found us, chatted with us, and basically told us that he doesn't want to have the headaches of IT in his office. And he was just 3 people, and he just wanted to start off with as much low overhead as possible. So we discussed cloud versus traditional IT and basically came up with results where we gave him what he wanted, period. No servers, no worry about backups, and no downtime. We saved him about $38,000 on IT costs in 1 year, because if we had to look at all the installation costs and all the maintenance costs, that's really what it came out to, even for a small operation. Now Jim is up to 15 to 17 people. Slowly every month he's adding more and more people, and his infrastructure doesn't change. He only has to add a laptop or a printer to his physical offices in Markham, Ontario, Canada, because that's all he has there. Everything is in our downtown data center where he doesn't have to worry about backups, doesn't have to worry about disaster recovery. He doesn't have to worry about software upgrades, anything to do with managing an IT network. He just has to worry about his employees having a computer in front of them, having access to their mail, the accounting system, and their financial service package, which are all applications, and he does his business. So Jim wrote up a little bit of a comment there about I was starting a new venture, and while any venture is at risk, I felt confident that after meeting Brian and his team that I was in good hands. It has been over 3 years now, and the tech support's been great. We haven't really had any major issues, but if we do, NETWORTH is right there to help us. And that's pretty much what you want in a cloud solution from anybody, is that they're taking care of it, so they're responsible, and they're managing the solution for you. So you need to be able to hook up wherever you are, situated in your business and geographically to a reliable company that can help you with that. Facts about going to the cloud: what if the internet goes down? It's very simple. Anybody that we sell a cloud solution to, we recommend that you have, if that's a big concern, at least 2 internet connections, or one that's guaranteed with a service level agreement from the provider. That means that if you buy it from Bell Canada or Bell or TELUS or somebody in the US, AT&T, that you have a guaranteed service contract that they will get you up and running within 1 hour if your internet goes down. If you can't have that, then basically you want to have a service where you have 2 services from 2 different providers, one backing up the other in case your internet ever does go down. And that would just provide you with the ability at your office to be able to make sure that you're always connected. What about security? Well, whether it's in your office with a server or in a data center, security is a must. And all those protocols are definitely going to be set up. And you'll be as secure, if not more secure, in a data center if you choose the right service provider with the right data center to manage your infrastructure. So it definitely is a topic of concern. You should definitely ask people what they're doing for security and make sure that the top priority is a checkoff that they show you what they have in place to help secure your data, because your data is the most critical thing about your business. And where is your data? That is a big concern also. You should make sure that if you're in the U.S. and you have certain conditions based on your business environment, like if you're in medical or a law, that your data stay in the US, that you need to find out where your data is being situated, not in India, not in China, not in Canada. And you can easily ask those questions and ask for proof and documentation. What about Office 365 and Google Apps? Definitely a good choice to make. You need to be making one choice to go all in or all out. So if you're going to go to the cloud, you need to go all the way through and use the applications like Office 365. They're very efficient, they're low cost, and the biggest thing about these applications is that they're always being upgraded and changed as you are a customer of those manufacturers like Microsoft and Google. So they're going to increase the application changes as they're released without you even knowing it. What if you go out of business? Well, if you go to business, which means if I go to business, or the provider that you basically are using, you want to be able to know that they have a strategy in place that if NETWORTH closes down or your provider closes down, that you have access to your data and that you rightfully can retrieve it within a reasonable amount of time. What about speed and performance? Before anybody gets a cloud solution, the first thing we do is check their internet service at their office or their home location, and we make sure that they have a minimum requirement. Otherwise, you're not classified as a good candidate. And if you're not a good candidate, then we shouldn't be talking about internet through cloud services. We should be changing your internet so that you can get up to speed. And lastly, what if I just upgraded my entire network? Well, I get this question a lot, and I always tell customers that if you just spent a load of money on new assets and they're in place, it's hard to turn around and just lose that, because the cost of going to the cloud will not have a good return on it until the third or fourth year if you just blew a whole bunch of money on new IT. So the best time to actually look at IT in the cloud is before you do a refresh of your technology. Sitting down with someone like us will allow us to determine if it's a good decision to go to the cloud or stay with your internal network. And that's about it, folks. I'll pass it back to you, Gail.
Okay. Thanks so much, Brian, and thank you, everyone. That's all the time we have now for our webinar. We ask you to just take a few minutes to answer today's exit survey, which should arrive to you very shortly, and let us know where we can improve upon and what topics you'd like to see in the future. Also, we'll be sending up a follow-up email that will alert you to the on-demand status of today's event so that you can review any material you may have missed or perhaps share it with others. For more local, relevant, and timely labor market information, and to learn more about the Talent Hub, an innovative, free-of-cost service which assists the hiring needs of employers, be sure to visit www.peelhaltonlepc.com. On behalf of myself, Brian, and the entire LEPC team, thank you so much for joining us and taking the time to view our presentation today. It was a pleasure spending this past time with you, and I hope you all have a great day. Bye.